Franklin Street, began driving southbound, striking a number of pedestrians and bicyclists along the route. At Chambers Street, the truck collided with a school bus, injuring 2 adults and 2 children. After the collision, the driver of the truck, a 29-year-old male, exited the vehicle brandishing 2 handguns. A uniformed police officer assigned to the 1st Precinct confronted the subject and shot him in the abdomen. The subject was wounded and transported to a local hospital. A paintball gun and a pellet gun were recovered at the scene. The subject's identity is not being released at this time, pending further investigation. First, I just want to say that today there was a loss of innocent life in Lower Manhattan. The dead and injured were just going about their days, heading home from work or from school, or enjoying the afternoon sun on bicycles. This is a tragedy of the greatest magnitude for many people, for many families here in New York City and beyond today. I want to commend the response of our NYPD officer that was on post near the location who stopped the carnage moments after it began. Also, the work of the first responders, including the fire department and EMS personnel, surely helped save additional lives.
Let me be clear that based on the information we have at this moment, this was an act of terror, and a particularly cowardly act of terror aimed at innocent civilians, aimed at people going about their lives who had no idea of what was about to hit them. We, at this moment, based on the information we have, we know of 8 innocent people who have lost their lives and over a dozen more injured. We know that this action was intended to break our spirit. But we also know New Yorkers are strong, New Yorkers are resilient, and our spirit will never be moved by an act of violence, an act meant to intimidate us.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. I want to give double honors to our apostles and our elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace and salutations and many blessings to the elect, the house of David, and the ancient Hebrews pronounced by Al Wadah. And those are the men kicking this word in sincerity and in truth. I'm the brother Sha'ar from the Great Millstone Dallas camp, and I want to go into this lesson on this wicked folly day that's befalling us called Samhain. Naturally, you know it as Holloween, but how the sorcerers and so forth, they know it, they acknowledge it as Samhain. All right, and how the Catholics and the Christians acknowledge it being All Hallows Eve. And they all ultimately they tie into one to another. All right. And ultimately, Samhain really falls on November 1st. But even as the righteous know that the new day starts when the sun goes down and when the moon is up, they know with us knowing that starts the new day. On the left-hand side, the wicked know that as well. That's why they start celebrating it when the sun goes down. And that's when you see people dressed up in costumes, Halloween parties, all-out madness and wickedness you start seeing is when the sun goes down. And right now we're living in the time that we're living in, this season is a very, what's the word I'm looking for? A very, I don't want to try too hard to think of it, but going into it pretty much being there's a lot of spirits that are out right now. This is the time when you're most vulnerable to catching demonic spirits, okay? That's how I wanted to word it. All right, there's a lot of demons that's out right now, a lot of demonic stuff going on right now. And even in the video that you had seen, the reason why I posted it on there, because that was held today, where you had in New York, Manhattan, a bike marathon, and it was a person that just ran everybody over and killed multiple people. All right, now that's just going into the demonic spirits that's out right now. Now, whether it was a false flag, just to spill blood on the ground, just as sacrifices for Samhain, or whether it was just somebody ultimately driven by a familiar spirit. Who knows? Ultimately, we know that the individual was driven by a familiar spirit, because all these people that you see out here today celebrating this folly day, dressed up in these costumes, going to these Halloween parties and so forth, all these people are demented, all right, and they're all driven by familiar spirits. All right, they're possessed. Okay, but going into this lesson, we're going to see why. All right, and I want to show you how Christianity and Halloween all tie into the same damn thing. Because you got a lot of these wacky tacky Christians that are talking about us, but they won't talk about the atrocities that they've committed on the planet Earth. and the stuff that they've done in the name of Christianity, and how Christianity has a lot to do with a lot of the folly days that you see right now. All right. This one being Halloween, or All Hallows Eve, as the Catholics like to call it, or Samhain, as the witches and sorcerers call it. Okay. Now I'm going to title this lesson, How Christianity and Paganism Collide in Halloween. Okay. And just bear with me, Lord, when it's edifying, and you see these individuals dressed up in costumes, dressed up as saints. All right. In front of it looks like Stonehenge. I believe that's what it is. All right. But I'm going to start at the top. Just bear with me. Okay. It says, and I'm going to bring out scriptures too, all right? It says, this Halloween, as millions of people dress up as spirits and ghosts, neo-pagans will try to commune with actual spirits through the rituals of Samhain. And that's what they do, man. All right? That's why you have a lot of these horror movies that come out around this time. That's when you just feel the demonic essence in the air around this time of the year, because you have a lot of people that'll play with Ouija boards, that'll cast enchantments and try to summon those familiar spirits. Even people that you see, people that you might be cool with in your daily lives, they'll go home and they'll get set their Ouija board up and do stuff like that, man. Even with them dressing up as demons, people, so forth. They're trying to communicate with those spirits. Now, when you go into the origins of Samhain, all right, how the Druids did it, which was still wicked, but they knew that that was a time that humanity or people were vulnerable to those demonic spirits. So they would dress up as those beings to try to be a disguise, to act like one of those, so those demonic spirits would think they're one of them. That's what the Druids celebrated. All right. And that's where you can see it carrying on to right now. And a lot of these people say they're doing it for the kids. Hey, man, at the end of the day, it's still wicked. And who the hell is a child to run your life? Who is a child for you to take down your standard of morality just to please them? All right. If it's wicked, it's wicked. And you'll have these people dress up as devils and demons and the Grim Reaper and so forth and try to say it's just for fun and games. All right? It's all fun until somebody gets hurt, as they like to say. All right? Then you got to excuse me. I'm a little under the weather. But I'm continue. It says the holiday Americans know as Halloween actually began as two divergent religious festivals. One Christian, called All Hallows Eve, and one pagan. So you Christians got some questions to answer, man. Look what your religion stems forth. Look at the fruit of your religion. Now, before I even go into that, we know that it was started off by wicked jakes in the Catholic Church. But that still carries on today to you wicked individuals, you wicked Edomites, and all you Christians, man. It says called All Hallows Eve and one pagan known as Samhain. While the Catholic Church eliminated the liturgical season called All Hallows Tide, during which the church celebrated All Hallows Eve, practitioners of Celtic variations of neo-paganism have kept the celebrations of Samhain very much alive. Here's a religious heritage of Halloween. All right, both what has passed away and what has remained undead. All right, so it talks about this is a religious heritage of Halloween. All right, this is what Christianity possesses. This is one of the fruits of Christianity. So as we continue, it says the Triduum of Death, and there goes that 3. All Hallows Eve was originally a vigil that the early Christian church held before a feasting honoring all saints and martyrs called Hallowmass or All Hallows. All right, so they would say it's honoring all saints, but we know the scriptures don't talk about that, man. That just goes into that Christian dogma that they made up, just like worshiping of Mary, just like the cross, and so much other things that the Christian or Catholic Church developed. All right? This stuff has nothing to do with the scriptures, but that just goes into those doctrines of devils that they go into. And this is a doctrine of devils. All right? It says, according to the church pope, the name Halloween is a contraction of All Hallows Eve, and the vigil itself involves prayer, fasting, and a mass into preparation for the following days of feast. So who are you praying to? Who are you fasting to? Because you have devils that take heed to these prayers as well. And when you pray to these demons, and when you burn incense to them, and when you fast in their name, they gonna communicate with you. And they'll have you thinking that you're doing the right thing, man. And it says that a mass in preparation for the following day's feast, Saint Odilo of Cluny expanded the liturgical celebration with the church-wide popularized of All Souls Day. All right. So you have All Souls Day, you have All Hallows Eve, and then you have what's the other one called again? It's called Salaki. There's a name, I just said it a minute ago. Yeah, Hallowmas. All right. So that's the Triduum of Death. And we know that according to these scriptures, man, we don't worship the dead. All right. The stuff that we worship is life. This book we read is full of life. This doctrine is full of life. But it shows you the madness of Christianity and how their madness, their doctrine is full of death. They're infatuated with death, which shows you who the children of light is and who the children of the wicked are, man. When you continue, it says, held on November 2nd, during which members of the church would pray for the souls of all the dead. All right, I got a scripture I'm going to go to really quick, man, because you ain't supposed to pray for the dead. All right, you're supposed to pray for the body. You're supposed to pray for your brother, for those that are like-minded in the spirit, to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. All right, this is 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 17. It says, for we being many are one bread and one body, for we are all partakers of that one bread. All right, and who does that bread represent? That represents Yahweh Shai, that body. All right, that's why Yahweh Shai said, I am the manna of heaven. Okay, it says in verse 18, behold, Israel, after the flesh, are not they which eat the sacrifices partakers of the altar? What say I then? That the idol is anything, or that which is offered in sacrifice do salakit, or which is offered in sacrifice do idols is anything? But I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, and that's what these Gentiles are doing. When you see these children out here in these costumes, when you have these Halloween parties, these bonfires and so forth, that's what the Gentiles sacrifice. That's a sacrifice, all right? And a lot of our people, Israelites, are part of that number as well that's doing that wickedness, all right? It says, but I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils. Because a lot of this, the reason why Paul had wrote this to the church of Corinth, because a lot of Jacobs was out there doing that stuff, man. They was doing the same thing as those damn heathen were doing. Jake got attached to it, and they became as those heathen as well. All right, they weren't following the law, statutes, commandments of the Heavenly Father. They weren't doing the things which were convenient to the spirit. They were following the flesh, their lustly desires. They were following after the ways of the heathen, which the scriptures clearly tells us not to do. Okay, but I'm reading verse 20 again. It says, but I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils and not to the Most High. And I would not that ye should have fellowship with devils. All right, so you see what these Christians do, man. All right, this is an example of it right here from what we see, the Triduum of Death. These pictures of these people, man, they're sacrificing it to devils. And with us being children of light, we're not supposed to be of that, man, because we're of Yahweh Shai. We're of life. We're not of death. But these wicked individuals are infatuated with death. Okay? I'm going to go back to 1 Corinthians 10 and 20. But I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils, and not to the Most High. And I would not that ye should have fellowship with devils. Ye cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils. Ye cannot be partakers of the Lord's table and the table of devils. All right? And when you see what you see up here, man, this Christian / Nego-pagan ceremony that you see, man, this is drinking of the cup of devils. All right? How Christianity and paganism collide in Halloween. Hey, man, you either with Yahweh Shai or you against Yahweh Shai, man. And a lot of these Christians will say, oh, they don't celebrate Halloween, but look at the origins of it, man. Look what you do. And okay, you don't celebrate Halloween, but I bet you have a Christmas tree in your house. I bet you celebrate that. All right? I bet you celebrate St. Patrick's Day. And if you don't physically have the stuff in your home, I bet you that you do the same exact festivities that they do when you go out in your daily lives. None of this stuff is ordained by the Heavenly Father. All of this stuff is ordained by devils, man. All right? I'm going to jump back down. And it says, the three celebrations, All Hallows Eve, Hallowmas, and All Souls Day, created what the church referred to as the Triduum of Death, a 3-day liturgical season focused on the communion of saints and the meaning Christ. And I'll say Christ, all right? because we know that Yahweh Shai has nothing to do with this, but this goes into Serapis Christus at the end of the day, and stuff that Christ or Serapis and his followers Christianos got involved in. All right, meaning Christ gives to human mortality. Pope Sixtus IV expanded the Triduum to the 8th day liturgical season called the octave, and it's so ironic that you got a lot of these festivals held in October, which is the originally the 8th month of the year. That's where you get oct from, or oct. You know what I'm saying? What you see octave right there. All right. Well, now we know that Samhain starts on November 1st, but you know that's why they'll say Halloween's on October 31st, and it starts when the sun goes down. But you even have Friday the 13th on October Friday the 13th. All right. But it says the season lasted well into the 20th century and was celebrated in different ways by both Catholic and Protestants. And those two are both branches of Christianity. Christianity is nothing but a branch of Catholicism. Protestants, they're nothing but a branch of Catholicism. All right? Methodist, Seventh-day Adventist, so forth. All of this is a branch from the Roman Catholic Church. Pope Pius XII eliminated All Hallows Tide in 1955. However, with the liturgical reform called Cum Has Nostra Aetate that remained even after the Second Vatican Council, most Catholics, therefore, do not celebrate the liturgical events involved in All Hallows Tide. The Eastern Orthodox Church still maintains some observations of All Hallows, as some Protestant denominations, such as the Anglicans, Methodists, Lutherans, and others. And all those are ultimately branches of Catholicism. All right? It says, though, in truncated from as only All Saints' Day, the Christian connection to Halloween has been largely forgotten in popular culture. All right, and that's why they'll say that they don't celebrate Halloween. But when you go into your origins, the origins of Christianity, that's what it was found. A lot of these folly days that you see are founded off of Christianity. Now we know before it was Christianity, they were doing it's involved in Roman pagans, ancient Egyptians, so forth. But Christian customs start from them. All right. When you go before Christianity, the same stuff these Christians are doing is the same stuff that the ancient Romans was doing, the ancient Egyptians was doing, the ancient Babylonians was doing, and so forth, man. They just put Christian involved in it, man. All right. Now to continue, it says, though in truncated form as the All Saints' Day, the Christian connection to Halloween has been largely forgotten in popular culture, partly as a result of the depopularization of the liturgical season once known as the Triduum of Death. All right, the witch's New Year. So now we get into the good stuff, man, because you see how it's using Christianity. And this article that I'm reading is going into how Christianity and paganism go into the same thing when it comes to these folly days. Now let's see the witch's New Year, because witches have certain days that they follow. They have certain days that they sacrifice bodies to. They sacrifice souls to feed the beast. And one is Samhain, which we're entering into right now. And the next one is Yule, which is held on the winter equinox. All right, starting on December 21st. The most recent one before this one was Mabon. All right, they have, I believe it's 12 Sabbaths. It's 8 to 12 Sabbaths that they follow, and they have a calendar that they go by where they sacrifice these people to, man. And this is their new year that we're entering in. So when you see all these deaths take place, all this crazy stuff happen, just know why it's going on. All right, it's a high amount of familiar spirits that are roaming this land right now, man. That realm has been opened up. All right. It says the original form of the Celtic celebration of Samhain, pronounced Samhain and held October 31st, predates the Triduum of Death. All right. So this goes even before the Catholic Church. All right. But the Catholic Church just took hold of it and they expanded it. All right. The ancient Celts celebrated Samhain roughly 2,000 years ago in the areas known as the UK, Ireland, and parts of France. Practitioners of the festival celebrated the end of the harvest and the coming of winter, viewed as a spiritual in-between time of life and death. And that's when that realm is very thin where those spirits can pass through. Okay? That's why you see most of the sacrifices or most of these children being abducted. All right? Most of these children dying, most people dying off quote unquote probable cause, whether it be hit by cars or ran over on a bicycle site in New York or whatever the case might be. A lot of this is because it's spilling of blood. It's of a sacrifice, starting from September 23rd, going all the way to the end of December. All right, viewed as a spiritual in between time of life and death, during which the Celts believed that the veil separating the seen world and the spiritual world was the thinnest, according to history. So that's why you see all the stuff take place, man. Because that's, again, where people are more vulnerable to being abducted. Not abducted, I'm sorry, but being possessed by those familiar spirits. Okay? This is Isaiah 47:1. Because these elites that rule the world, they know these things. And they still follow those same ancient rituals and ancient customs as before. All right? This is Isaiah 47:10. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else besides me. And that's what these elites do, man. That's what these modern day Chaldeans do. They say that they are of the Most High. All right? Therefore, in verse 11 says, therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. And ultimately, man, these wicked individuals got to come into them soon, man. These elites and the rest of these Edomites, and even 2/3 of our people, man, that are into this bullshit. They got a swift judgment coming upon their heads. These Christians, all of this, man. Verse 12 is the key point. Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be, thou shalt be able to profit. If so be, thou mayest prevail. So if these sorceries y'all are doing are able to profit you, you're going to be able to prevail when that day of judgment comes, all right? But we know that they're not going to be able to prevail, all right? Because these demons that they're reaching out to are angels on the left-hand side. And the Heavenly Father are using these things to help stir their mind, to have them thinking that they're of the Most High, all right? These angels on the left-hand side just doing their job. Verse 13 says, thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. And ultimately, they ain't going to be able to save them, man. That's a mock towards them, all right? These familiar spirits that you're conjuring up right now in this time that we're living in this season, aren't going to be able to help you when that day of judgment comes, all right? It's not going to be able to help you wicked niggas dressed up as ghouls and goblins and so forth. As you see right here in this article, it says the trident of death, the forgotten season of All Hallow Tide. And look at this, man. Look at this. And the trident of death was started by the Catholic Church. Look at this, man. This don't look godlike. Salakia, look at this, man. Hold on. Yeah. That don't look godlike, man. And I'm going to jump to this here in a minute, but I'm going to finish up on this article. It says ancient Celtic religions held that the spirits of the dead were returned to haunt the physical world and damage crops and cause their misfortunes on the night of Samhain. The return of these spirits held a positive possibility for Celts as well, since the Celtic priests known as Druids maintained that the spirit's presence made it easier for them to see into the future on behalf of others. That ancient Celts built sacred bonfires on which they would sacrifice animals and crop offerings to appease the spirits of deities. People sought their fortunes from Druids and wore costumes made from skins of animals, hoping to confuse spirits to protect themselves from the supernatural harm. So again, it shows you why these people dress up the way they do, man. Back then, it was, they knew it was the thinnest time for those spirits to enter into that realm. That realm was thin. So those familiar spirits would enter in, and when those demons, well, from what they say, those demons would get confused and think that they're one of them. That's what the Celts believed, all right? And even with those bonfires that they made, they didn't only sacrifice animals, man, but they sacrificed humans as well. That's why it's the elite's biggest sacrifice day to right now, all right? They would sacrifice humans into those in those fires, all right, in those bonfires, okay? I got this scripture I want to read out, and I want to go into that word and the ordinance of a bonfire. This is Deuteronomy 18:10. There shall not be found amongst you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch. Okay? So these are commandments that were given to us, the Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And now look what y'all are doing, man. Yo, go out trick-or-treating. Yo, go out to these graves. Yo, make fires. Yo, conjure demons and spirits up just for the experience of it. Verse 11 says, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. All right? And a necromancer is one who fondles with the dead. Let's get into this word real quick. That word there is darash in the Hebrew. And it says to resort, to seek with care, to inquire. All right, to seek deity in prayer worship of heathen gods. Okay? Then let's see where it goes down at. To practice, study, follow, seek with application. And that's what our people are doing, man. The same thing that Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai told us not to do, they do it, man. And look what it says at the bottom down here. To be required of blood. And that's what they do with these bonfires, man. When they conjure these spirits up, they have to spill blood. Just like the elites do, man. That's why they have these sacrifices on those days, because they're conjuring up those demons, those spirits, and blood is required in order to do that. All right? Let's jump back to this. Oh, matter of fact, I was going to pull up the word bonfire really quick. Bear with me. Give me one sec. All right. All right, so when you go into this, it says in English, bone. All right, that's where you get bone from. English, fire, French, bon. All right, so bonfire comes from the word bonfire. All right, just like we read in Deuteronomy 18, how we weren't supposed to put our children, our sons and daughters through the fire. All right, late Middle East, from bone plus fire, the term originally denoted a large open air fire of which bones were burned. Sometimes as part of a celebration, also one of burning heretics or prescribed literature. Dr. Johnson accepted a mistake idea that the word came from French bone. All right. And also, too, man, hold on. Let me go down really quick. Shalakia. Yeah, let me read this really quick. In Wikipedia, bonfire is a large but controlled outdoor fire used either in informal disposal of burnable waste material as a part of a celebration. And who are they celebrating it to, man? That goes into Molech. All right, because even our people at a point in time, the wicked of our people were sacrificing our children to Molech, the fire deity. All right. It says bonfire traditionally in early spring lit on Sunday afternoon following Ash Wednesday are widespread through the Alemannic German-speaking religious regions of Europe and parts of France. Oh, Salakia, hold on. I passed this, and I'm going to read this part here. It says, in many regions, the continental Europe, bonfires are made traditionally on the 16th of January, the solemnity of John the Baptist, as well as Saturday night before Easter. All right? So it's reasons why they do this stuff before these big days, because they're giving recognition to those deities that they worship. Just like we read when we went into the definition of necromancer. All right. Bonfires are also a feature of Walpurgis Night. Okay. Which is another satanic Sabbath that they have. All right. Walpurgis Night. I believe that one is Beltane if I'm not mistaken. And if I'm wrong, Salakia. But I believe Walpurgis Night is Beltane. The Feast of Beltane. In Central and Northern Europe, in the celebrations of the Eve of St. John's Day in Spain and Finland, bonfires are traditions of Midsummer's Eve and Easter, also in midst of May celebration. Yeah, May Day goes into Beltane. All right? So it's reasons why on all these wicked holidays or these Sabbaths that the witches follow, they light fires. Because it goes into burning those people and burning those animals. All right? Or burning those bonfires, burning the bones. Okay? Spilling the blood. Let's jump back to this article. All right. And it says the Celtic traditions of Samhain fused with two Roman celebrations by 43 AD. Feralia, which marked the passing of the dead into the afterlife, and the festival honoring Pomona, the goddess of trees and fruits. The apple was Pomona's symbol, and she was celebrated with apple bobbing. That's where you get apple bobbing from, man. So when they're bobbing for apples at these Halloween festivals and Halloween parties, that's going back to the worship of Pomona and the symbol of celebrating the apple, man, because she was a goddess of trees and fruit. And who was another goddess of trees and fruit and vegetation? That goes to what's her name? Goes into Sybil, okay? Which ultimately goes back to the Queen of Heaven. All right? It says Wiccans now carry on a celebration of Samhain, some of whom call the Witches' New Year. The spiritual significance of Samhain remains largely the same as modern Wiccans, as it was the ancient pagans, though with less of an emphasis of the protection of food stores to survive the winter. Current accepted rituals also look slightly different than the ancient observations, as they most often do not include animal sacrifice. So they try to hide it with the children, with the laughs and the giggles and so forth, to make it not look as wicked as really where it started from. But when you go into the origins of these days, again, they would sacrifice people. All right, they would worship their gods and so forth, man. And the Roman Catholic Church had took this custom and made it their own. Okay, let's go down. Modern Wiccans still hold bonfires, practice divination. What do we just read here? What do we just read in Isaiah 47 and Deuteronomy 18 and 10? It talks about not to do that, all right? But the Catholic Church will hold on to this tradition and practice divination, which shows you Christianity isn't of the Heavenly Father anyway. Or fortune telling, via communion with undead spirits and deities, give offerings of bread and fruit to spirits, and make an altar to their ancestors. During Samhain, some Wiccans also perform a ritual on Samhain to help the spirits of the dead pass on from the earth to the afterlife. In the ceremony, they opened up a westward-facing widow in their home and placed a lit candle beside it. All right? And a lot of this even goes into ancient Egypt in the afterlife. When they mummified them, when they would take their brains out and other organs, that would help them to pass on to the afterlife. When you go into ancient Egypt, and even with Santos Muerta, all right? She's that westward-facing widow. All this stuff ties in, and Jake takes hold on to all of this. Ultimately, that's why all the ordinances of this place have to be destroyed, man. There's nothing good that comes out of Christianity. There's nothing good that comes out of America. All right? That's why so many demonic things are happening today, man. You can't get away from it. All right? And let me see, because I don't want to make this too long. I mean, Lord willing, I'll post the link on the subscription, on the comment box. Lord willing, it'll be up there. But I just want to see what else it says down here. Looks like that's about it, man. But hey, this shows you, man, when you go into the title, how Christianity and paganism collide in Halloween. This shows you, man, that this isn't of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. This isn't of the Lord. Christianity is not of the Lord, man. That's why they have all these pagan customs that they celebrate, man. You ask a Christian that's coming against us how they feel about Christmas, and they'll tell you that they're not doing it for the paganic standpoint. They're doing it for the Lord. All right? But your actions speak louder than your words, man. All right? And real quick, let me see if I can find someone here and I end it off. Because I believe we tackled all of this. Yeah, this just goes into them praying for the dead. All right, Holomas. Let's see here. Yeah, this is pretty much the same thing that I just read, man. But when you look at the image of this, man, these are so-called Christians in this picture that you see, man. Those are so-called Christians, all right? This is what this stuff ties into. So again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai. I want to give double honors to our apostles and our elders of Great Millstone who rule well, who help feed the flock, all right? Who the spirit of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai is on to help wake up the elect, all right? And I want to give peace and salutations to the elect, the house of David, kicking this word in sincerity and in truth. Those stones that are building this temple up brick by brick. All right, Shalom.